Hi, this is Chris from Virtual Pokemon League. I'm here with another deck intro. I am introducing the Nuzzle deck, which we have called the cutest deck ever. You can see there we've got Emolga, part of the deck. There's Pachirisu, Pikachu, and Raichu. This is a super fun deck to play. It's my favorite to play. It's a ton of cute little guys teaming up to beat huge tag teams to deal huge damage. And it happens in ways you might not expect. So I'm going to explain exactly how this deck works. It's also a pretty cheap deck to buy. If you're interested in buying a deck that you really want to deal heavy damage and do some really fun stuff and just destroy your friends in battles, but not spend a lot of money, it's a great deck for that. I'll explain how this deck is supposed to work. This deck is centered around Emolga. Emolga is this flying squirrel that has this attack called Nuzzle Gathering. It's not an attack, I'm sorry, it's an ability. What it says is that you can, once during your turn, search your deck for any Pokemon that has the Nuzzle attack and then put it in your hand. So we do this in our very first turn. No matter whether we can play a supporter, no matter whether we can attack, we can use this ability to search for a Pokemon that has the Nuzzle attack. Well, Emolga has the Nuzzle attack, so let's look for another one. So we add another Emolga, put it on our bench, put it in our hand and then put it down on our bench, and then we get to use the Nuzzle Gathering ability. So let's use that, find another Emolga, put it on our bench. 3 Emolgas is the limit. Don't ever put more than 3 in play. I can explain why later if you want, but just a rule of thumb, no more than 3. You need to find another one that has the Nuzzle attack. Find Pachirisu. So Pachirisu has the Nuzzle attack. That's the one you put up. So this is the idea. You have these. Hopefully you have enough to get another Pokemon, preferably a Pikachu. This particular Pikachu has the Nuzzle attack. I don't know if it's focusing there, but this Pikachu has the Nuzzle attack. Hopefully you can get that with like a Quick Ball or something like that. We play 4 in our deck. So hopefully you can do that. So hopefully you have this. Even if you don't, that's fine. Let's pretend that we don't this time. So what you do then is you take Emolga, who has free retreat. You retreat, and during your attack time, whenever you can do that, you attach an energy to Pachirisu and you do Snuggly Generator. And this says that this attack allows you to search your deck for 1 energy for every one of your benched Pokemon that has the Nuzzle attack and attach it to that Pokemon. So we get to search our deck for one of our energies and attach it to this Emolga, another one attached to this Emolga, and another one attached to this Emolga. So we've got 4 energies by the end of our turn. Maybe they knock it out, maybe they don't. If they don't, what you want to do is eventually find your switch card or just do the 1 retreat and then retreat it. But before we do that, we do the Nuzzle Gatherings again. And so every turn you can search your deck for 3 Pokemon that have the Nuzzle attack, and all of our main guys have the Nuzzle attack. So we can search for a Pikachu. Hopefully we've got it already. We can search for this Raichu. This has the Nuzzle attack, and this is going to be our main attacker here. So if we've got the Pikachu already, we can just do this Raichu, and hopefully this already has that energy attached because you did the Snuggly Generator to the Pikachu. So the idea is that we can evolve this our second turn. We can switch and then use Raichu. So here's what Raichu says. He has this powerful Spark attack. It says, this attack does 20 damage times the amount of lightning energy attached to all of your Pokemon. So Snuggly Generator set us up. Pachirisu set us up. The Emolgas got everyone out. Pachirisu put energy on everybody. And Powerful Spark is using that energy to do powerful damage. So right now, turn 2, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 5 energies times 20. That's 100 damage, turn 2. Now, suppose your opponent is a little slow in setting up. Maybe even they're not, whatever. What you can do is you can evolve Raichu and then do the Snuggly Generator again. Take more energy, attach to more of your Pokemon. And just keep doing this until you've used all of this energy from your deck. And then you attach one for turn to this Emolga, say. And look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 energy. That's 200 damage. That's amazing. So that's the idea. The idea is you keep accelerating this energy through Snuggly generators. And if this guy gets knocked out and you bring up an Emolga, no worries, because you can use Nuzzle Gathering and find a Pachirisu, which has the Nuzzle attack. Put it on your bench, attach an energy for turn, and then free retreat with Emolga. Emolga has no retreat cost whatsoever, so you always bring up your Emolgas if anything gets knocked out. You retreat there, do Pachirisu, and do another Snuggly generator, and you can just have tons of lightning energy filling the board that allows this powerful spark to do a lot of damage. So one thing you do need to be aware of is that you need to be preparing. So you need to make sure that every time you are setting yourself up, you need to have a Pikachu ready on the bench whenever you're attacking with a Raichu. So that if this Raichu gets knocked out, you can bring up the Emolga. Say this is in your discard. You can bring up the Emolga, and then you can attach one for your turn to the Pikachu, and then you can find the Raichu with the Nuzzle Gathering and evolve it, and then free retreat into the Raichu and do a lot more attacks. Okay, that's the idea of the deck. Super cool concept. They work super well together. Now, how do we get all this stuff built up from the very, very beginning? Usually it's pretty easy. We need to get an Emolga. We've got 4 Emolgas out here because it's the cornerstone of the deck. We've got 4 Quick Balls, and we've got 4 Volkners. Volkners allow you to search your deck for a lightning energy and an item card. That item card can be a Quick Ball. And then you can use the Quick Ball to get an Emolga out, and you have an energy so that when you keep doing your Nuzzle Gatherings and you get your Pachirisu, you can attach the energy to the Pachirisu and then do the free retreat. So, or somehow get it going. So that's the idea. We've got a Bills Analysis, which allows 2 Bills Analysis, which allows you to search the top 7 cards of your deck, 2 trainer cards you find there. Hopefully you're going to find something like a Quick Ball. We've got Electric Power. So we've got 2 Pokegear as well. Now suppose, notice we don't have any Cynthias, we don't have any Professor's Research, we don't have a lot of draw stuff, and that's because we don't really need it. Once we've got this Emolgas, we're taking cards out of our deck. Once we've got this Pachirisu using Snuggly Generator, we're taking energy out of our deck, so we're drawing pretty well. And all we need to do is find our choice cards with the Volkner. We need to find our particular item cards that would be helpful for us. We need to make sure we've got an energy to attach for a turn. That's basically what we need. And the Pokegear can help us find it if we didn't already do that. So we don't need a lot of draw power with this deck. We need to be able to load up this board state with energy and attack a lot. Now we can search for other item cards with the Volkner and the Bills Analysis as well. We can search for the Electro Power. So these E-Powers, or Electro Powers, if you play it, your attack of your electric Pokemon does 30 more damage, which is just awesome. So imagine if you did this Snuggly Generator with Pachirisu twice, you got 200 damage worth of energy on the board. So suppose you've got 10 energy on the board, that's 200. And you need to do a little bit more, 30 or 60 or 90 more. You can search for your E-Powers. Suppose you can do some pretty good damage, 200 damage, but you can't quite knock out the active. And suppose you want your opponent is relying on something like a Malamar or a Persian or a Magnezone, where they just have a Dedenne on the bench that you want to get prizes for. You can search for custom catchers. For 2 of these, you can gust up any of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Now, custom catchers are a little on the expensive side. You can also go for Pokemon catchers, 4 Pokemon catchers. And so you can find that flip a coin of heads, you get to choose which of your opponent's bench Pokemon becomes active, and then you can knock it out. So I recommend, if you're trying to go for cost here, get 4 Pokemon catchers, would work almost just as well here. Mostly because the custom catchers are usually used just to be sure that you can gust someone up. You might get 2 tails. Who knows? But This also allows you to draw extra cards. With this deck, you almost never need to draw extra cards because you're drawing so many in the first place. Great catcher is to gust something like a Dedenne, or maybe you've loaded up a ton of energy and your opponent is just trying to load up enough energy on their tag team. Maybe they have a Jirachi in the active or something like that, or a Doll in the active, some sort of barrier. You can gust them up with this great catcher. Discard 2 cards and you choose one of your opponent's GX Pokemon to become active, and then you can do some big damage with that. The Ordinary Rod allows you to shuffle 2 energies and 2 Pokemon back into your deck. This is super important because we only have 4 Raichus that we're playing with, so 4 attackers. And if they get knocked out, we have 1 more attacker. Not very many. So we need to find this Ordinary Rod in order to get the Raichu and the Pikachu back into our hand so that we can find it with a Nuzzle Gathering and then play it. So it's important that we get this Ordinary Rod. Also, the energy that we have in play determines the level of our attack. So as our Pokemon get knocked out, our attacks end up being less. So we need to get that energy from the discard pile back onto our Pokemon, and our Ordinary Rod allows us to put it back into our deck to eventually get it to do that. Reset Stamp is just to disrupt our opponent. Sometimes it's really helpful because our opponent can do things to manipulate our Emolgas. The weakness of this deck is it's got Emolgas all over, and they only have 60 HP. So if your opponent spreads damage, they have spell tags or wheezing, coughing sort of things, then this is in trouble. And so what you want to do is give your opponent the least amount of resources as possible by limiting their hand size, playing the Reset Stamp to do that. The switch is just in case you have the Pachirisu in the active and you want to get it out of there. Or something else in the active and you just want to get the Pachirisu active, perhaps. The switch can be super helpful for that. It's just a one-time thing. Otherwise, you're just going to always bring up your Emolgas. Sometimes it's more helpful to have something more than a switch, like if your opponent plays an Absol or something like that. But then you just have to be very careful about what Pokemon you bring up into the active. You want to make sure you bring up ones that are going to be able to attack. The switch is basically just for the first turn of the game in case you don't have an Emolga in the active or a Pachirisu in the active. The Marshadow here, this has Resetting Hole. Once it's played to your bench, you can discard it, and if you do, you discard the Stadium card in play. We don't play any Stadium cards here, and that's okay. We can use other opponents' Stadium cards. We can let them do it because we're building right now in order to do large attacks that'll almost win anyway. Sometimes, though, the opponent plays a Stadium card that's super helpful for them. Life Forest or Dark City or something like that. It's just super advantageous for them. That makes it so when you knock out a Dark Pokemon, you don't take any prize cards. Or Thunder Mountain, which is going to often be helpful for us, but sometimes more helpful for the opponent. And you just want to get it out. It's a one-time super helpful Stadium card. That's why we play this. Basically, you can search for it with your Quick Balls, and then you can discard it and knock out and get rid of that Stadium card. Usually that's a Prism Star Stadium card. And so they only have one of them in their deck anyway. We play this Tapu Koko Prism Star. This is because this will allow us to take 2 electric energy from our discard pile and put one on each of one of our 2 Pokemon on the bench. So if we play this to our bench, we can put it in the Lost Zone. If we do that, we take 2 energy from our discard pile, and we can choose 2 Pokemon to put these energy onto, 1 each. That's the idea. And so, since when our Pokemon get knocked out, our energy is decreased, our attacks are decreased, we can use the Tapu Koko Prism Star to bring up that attack damage by putting those energy back into play. And we can search out that with the Quick Ball, which we can get with the Volkner or the Bill's Analysis. We play a lot of energy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. If we had all these in play, we'd be doing 280 damage. That almost never happens. Usually we do around 200, 220 damage, and we use E-powers to reach to get even more if we need to. 4 Raichu, 4 Pikachu, 4 Emolgas, 3 Pachirisu, and then what about this? So this is for the end of the game, almost always. We can play a Rosa. So we play 1 prizers, these Raichus that have 1 20 damage. Pretty much at the end of the game, they start getting knocked out every single turn. They deal a bunch of damage, but they get knocked out. We can play Rosa by the end of the game. So Rosa you can play only if your Pokemon gets knocked out at the last turn. And here's what it allows you to do. It allows you to search for one Pokemon, one trainer card, and one basic energy card. So here's what you do. You play this. You search for a Reshiram and Zekrom card, an energy switch, and a fire energy. And here's what you can do with that. Suppose you've got these cards on your bench. Your Raichu, everything has been knocked out here. You don't have very much left. Pachirisu's gone. You got your Emolga in the active. You use a Rosa card. You get your Reshiram and Zekrom up here. You attach this fire energy for your turn. You energy switch. That allows you to switch one energy from one of your Pokemon to another one. You free retreat with the Emolga. And you bring up your Reshiram and Zekrom. And here's what it does. It has Fabled Flare Bolts. This is a fire and an electric energy. And what it does is you can discard any number of electric energy from your bench Pokemon, or fire energy, but we only play one fire energy. So any number of electric energy from your discard pile, up to 3, and for each one it does 90 damage. So you can have this up here, discard 1, 2, 3 energy, and then do 270 damage for almost your last turn. And if that's not enough, then you can try to find more energy to accelerate here with your Tapu Koko, or the Ordinary Rod, or just getting some in your hand, and you can discard even more and do even more damage your next turn. So you can do big damage. It's a way of taking single prize, moving from single prize knockouts through maybe 5 turns. You get 4 with your Raichus, and you play Ordinary Rod, so you get another one. So 5 turns. Your opponent takes 5 prizes, and the last prize they have to take is with Reshiram and Zekrom. So they basically have to take 3 prizes, knock out a tag team to take their last prize card. So it's extending the game to almost like an 8-prize game. So that's the idea. This big guy comes in at the end and just deals big damage. So that's the idea behind the deck. I hope that you enjoy seeing some of our gameplay in our virtual Pokemon League with this deck and seeing how it interacts with other decks. Please feel free to ask me questions in the comments if you have them. Thanks. Bye.